Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this.
Isak Omission in Sweden draw explained. Sweden have failed to qualify for the 2026 World Cup via UEFA's qualification tournament. And that failure was locked in before they kicked off against Slovenia on Tuesday in what turned out to be a 1-1 draw for the Nordic side. However, they aren't entirely out of the World Cup running just yet. Their Nations League performance, where they won their group, had them in the mix to be included in a supplemental playoff next year, and following the final round of qualifiers that has now been confirmed by UEFA. With that as background, it was clear heading into Tuesday's game that's where their focus was. As such, when Liverpool striker Alexander Isak was kept on the bench through the final whistle on Tuesday, initial injury or fitness concerns were quelled by a simple explanation: Isak was at risk of being ruled out due to yellow card accumulation, which reset after the final whistle on Tuesday. If Sweden had taken the dead rubber match more seriously and Isak had played and picked up a yellow, he would have been ruled out of the first game of what will be a home-and-home playoff. It would have been an additional blow for a side that, thanks to their poor return in qualifying, will be a pot for side. In the qualification playoff, 16 countries, the 12 second-place finishers from qualification plus for Nations League sides will be placed in for pots. Pot 4 sides will draw Pot 1 sides and play the second leg away. The 8 winners will then be drawn and the 4 winners of those ties will qualify. New Liverpool contracts leave star looking left out. Liverpool are trying to push contracts through, but it's leaving one star left out. A potential statement on his future. Liverpool are currently working on new contracts for key players as they attempt to lock down their squad for the foreseeable future. Of course, the first stage of that was signing players, something they did to an incredible degree over the summer, but the Reds notably didn't work on their midfield as they spent the money. It remained virtually untouched, with only Florian Wirtz sort of influencing things. The bulk of the midfield, though, or the 2 deeper players, was entirely untouched. Liverpool still have the same selection that they did last season, but we imagine that will change going forward, before any major signings happen. However, the club needs to know who's sticking around long-term for this project. It means tying down players on new contracts, and they're certainly trying to do that. Fabrizio Romano confirmed in the last few days that Dominik Szoboszlai has received an offer and is in talks with Liverpool. Journalist Nicolo Schiro reports that Ryan Gravenberch will accept an offer from the club to massive deals. Then, but someone does look a little left out: Alexis Mac Allister's future. Alexis Mac Allister is the odd one out then. He was the other of the 3 that made up the title-winning midfield last season, but there are no real indications that a new contract is on the way. So why is that? Mac Allister arrived in the same summer as the other 2 with the same 5-year length of contract. It doesn't sound as though Liverpool are close to getting a new one done, though talk that Gravenberch and Szoboszlai were in talks and would resign has been rampant. There's essentially none of that talk around Mac Allister, however. And we do wonder if that's because Liverpool expect to move on from him. Reports that Real Madrid want the Argentine have been everywhere for the last year, and this does all lend credence to the rumors. We imagine Liverpool would prefer to move one midfielder on before buying big on any new player. Is that Mac Allister? It's one to watch for 2026, certainly. The lack of any smoke whatsoever suggests a real lack of fire over a contract renewal. Darren Bent believes Gareth Bale-like star will accept $85 million. Liverpool transfer. Darren Bent has called upon Liverpool to pursue Bournemouth sensation Antoine Semenyo, viewing the Ghanaian as the perfect long-term successor to Mohamed Salah. The winger has elevated his game to new heights this campaign, establishing himself among the Premier League's most potent attacking threats. Semenyo's tally stands at 6 goals and 3 assists across 11 outings so far this term, and several teams, including Liverpool, are now being linked with him. A brace of those strikes came against Liverpool on the season's opening day, as Bournemouth temporarily drew level in proceedings. Semenyo embarked on a stunning solo run from deep before beating Alisson for one of his efforts, despite manager Andoni Iraola witnessing numerous departures during the summer transfer window, including Milos Kerkez's switch to Liverpool. He managed to keep hold of his Ghana international star. Reports suggest Semenyo possesses a £65 million $85.5 million release clause that becomes active during the opening fortnight of January. Liverpool feature among the interested parties alongside Manchester United and Tottenham, who are all contemplating potential moves, though Bent believes Semenyo represents the ideal candidate to inherit Salah's mantle as the Reds must plan for the future, the ex-striker said on TalkSport. He has exploded out of the traps this season, and he just looks really comfortable in himself. Every game you see him do something and you go, oh my goodness. He's one of those rare players, and I call players like this unstoppable. Gareth Bale was like that. When I talk about unstoppable, I'm talking about their attributes. When Bale started to move, you just couldn't stop him, and Semenyo is the same. Once he gets going, he's going past people, and he's gliding. What's good about him is that he can go both ways. I think he's got the full package, for so long now. Liverpool have been able to depend on Salah on that right-hand side, season upon season, and don't get me wrong, he's been one of the best players we've ever seen in this country, but the signs are that he potentially may be slowing down a fraction. Now, all of a sudden, you have to start addressing both sides. The Cherries have succeeded in maintaining their position amongst the top four throughout much of this season. Despite witnessing several key players make their exits, Dean Huijsen's display secured his transfer to Real Madrid, and Semenyo might be eager to challenge himself at such an elite level. The Reds could provide him with that chance. While Ben suggests that the Bournemouth talent may consider himself equal to Manchester City's Jeremy Doku, I think Semenyo would go to Liverpool. I think he can get into any top squad, he added. You're still going to get more than enough minutes, but it depends on his ambition. His ambition might be, get me to Manchester City. I'm better than Doku. That might be his mindset. Arne Slot is set to be handed huge Liverpool injury boost ahead of Premier League return. Liverpool are set to be handed some welcome news on the injury front ahead of their return to Premier League action at the weekend. The Reds have to contend without several key players during a difficult autumn run which has seen them lose 7 of their last 10 matches and fall to 8th in the top-flight table. Although most of those who'd been sidelined have since returned to action. Other than long-term absentee Giovanni Leoni, the only senior squad members on whom Arne Slot is waiting to return are Jeremy Frimpong and Alisson Becker Premier injuries, and the latter appears to be nearing a comeback. Liverpool set for injury boost with Alisson training return. On Wednesday morning, the Standard's Matt Very reported that the Brazilian goalkeeper is set to resume training ahead of Liverpool's match against Nottingham Forest on Saturday, having been sidelined with a hamstring injury since the end of September. Some of the Reds who'd been away on international duty are expected to reconvene at the AXA training center today for the resumption of the club season, which now proceeds uninterrupted until late March. Alisson is due to partake in full team training in the coming days to try and prove his fitness ahead of the visit of Sean Dyche's side to Anfield at the weekend. Alisson's return should make Liverpool more stable at the back. Lewis Steele had indicated last week that the 33-year-old had been hopeful of returning in time to face Nottingham Forest, and with that fixture now drawing near, the goalkeeper seems on course to be in contention to feature on Saturday. Despite Liverpool's poor form in recent weeks, Georgi Mamardashvili has deputized competently for the Reds, whose plight would have been even more severe if it weren't for some outstanding saves from the Georgian. Nonetheless, Alisson's return will bring with it the restoration of a proven and calming presence as our last line of defense, something we very much need given our woes at the back throughout the autumn. Having our number one in goal will likely provide a reassurance to the defenders in front of him, which then pervade throughout the rest of the team with a greater sense of stability. Hopefully, Materialising. Slot will almost certainly give us a more accurate update on the 33-year-old when he speaks to the media on Friday ahead of the Forest game. Fingers crossed for good news on the Brazilian netminder. Big Liverpool signing to be benched with Slot to make no-brainer selection call. Arne Slot should have the chance to make an obvious selection call for Liverpool's first match back after the international break, and the end result will see a summer signing drop to the bench. Liverpool square off against Nottingham Forest on Saturday in what they'll hope and pray will be the start of a winning streak. The Reds' title defense is already in tatters, having lost 5 matches in the Premier League, one more than they lost in the entire campaign last year. But with the fixture list in the league reading Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton in the next 5, Liverpool will expect no less than 15 points. Slot faces a number of selection decisions all across the pitch. Robertson versus Kirkes, Ekatike versus Isak, Szoboszlai versus Wirtz, However, one selection call that practically solves itself is between the sticks. Georgi Mamardashvili has deputized for Alisson Becker over the past 7 weeks, while the Brazilian recovered from yet another hamstring injury. Alisson remains arguably the world's best goalkeeper, but keeping those hamstrings in one piece is proving tricky for the Reds' medical team. Prior to the international break, Slot insisted Alisson would for sure be in contention to start against Forest, and per the latest from the Evening Standard, Alisson will return to full-team training this week in a bid to prove he's fit and firing to reclaim the starting spot at Anfield on Saturday. Alisson must start if available. In truth, Mamardashvili has done little wrong in Alisson's absence, despite the fact Liverpool have lost 4 of the 5 league matches he's started, shipping 10 goals along the way. Fingers could be pointed at the giant Georgian for the part he played in Kevin Shade's goal in Brentford's 3-2 victory over the Reds on October 25. We're all familiar with Alisson's prowess in 1v1 situations, with the Brazilian so often choosing the perfect time to rush the attacker the split second they've taken a heavy touch and smother a shot. In this instance, Mamardashvili backed away, then backed away some more before eventually diving out of the way of the shot. Alisson always makes the attacker beat him, he never beats himself. In truth, that is perhaps the only negative in Mamardashvili's column, and given Alisson's status as the world's best, Mamardashvili will fully expect a demotion to the bench anyway, if Alisson manages to stay fit, and given Liverpool have already exited the League Cup. Mamardashvili's next appearance will likely be Liverpool's FA Cup third-round tie in early January. Latest Liverpool news, double signing, Trent. In other news, Liverpool will sign one of the best players in the Premier League for £35 million less than they would have paid if sealing the deal last summer, according to a reporter. Elsewhere, sources have revealed that Liverpool are ahead in the race to sign Antoine Semenyo after learning of the conditions needed for a January transfer, but Tottenham are also ready to throw their hat into the ring and cannot be discounted just yet. Finally, Trent Alexander-Arnold's disastrous start to life at Real Madrid has sunk to a new low after Thomas Tuchel claimed the defender is behind a former Liverpool teammate in the pecking order at right-back for England, despite the fact the former teammate isn't even a right-back. Andy Robertson's potential World Cup opponents as Liverpool star captain Scotland is back at the World Cup, but who will be joining the team in the festivities? The Tartan Army are still reeling from a dramatic night under the Hampton lights, but can now begin to plan their journey across the pond after an evening filled with high drama. Last-minute goals from Kieran Tierney and Kenny McLean were enough to secure Scotland's spot on the Grand World Cup stage. Scotland's captain is Liverpool star Andy Robertson, who is expected to lead the country at next year's tournament in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The left-back was emotional after Tuesday's game and recalled a conversation with the late Diogo Jota. Scotland is eagerly anticipating the World Cup draw on the 5th of December, with the seeding based on FIFA's world rankings, which will place Scotland in Pot 3 for the revamped tournament. It's a massive 48-team tournament, which means a staggering 12 groups in total participating in the action across North America. 4 team groups will remain. Teams from the same confederation, apart from UEFA, cannot be drawn in the same group. The 3 hosts have been automatically placed in Pot 1, and they've been joined by the next 9 highest-ranked nations. 6 teams had yet to confirm their spots at the tournament, with the playoffs set to run until next year. Previously, the 6 playoff winners were automatically placed in Pot 4, but the UEFA teams, such as Italy and Denmark, are likely to have a higher world ranking than the automatic qualifiers. Instead, FIFA is set to use placeholders in pots this time around based on the world ranking of the teams involved in the playoff when the draw for the playoff is concluded on Thursday. Football Rankings predicts that at least 2 nations emerging from the playoff rounds are likely to overtake Scotland in the seeding. In Europe, Italy and Denmark will discover their fate on Thursday, along with Ukraine, Turkey, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, Kosovo, Sweden, North Macedonia, and Romania. Jamaica, Iraq, DR Congo, New Caledonia, Suriname and Bolivia will also vie for one of the remaining spots in the new Interconfederation playoff. Due to their lower rankings, they will be placed in Pot 4 potentially, setting up a clash with Clark's squad. Both sets of playoffs are scheduled for March 2026, while The exact dates for the Interconfederation playoffs are yet to be confirmed. The UEFA playoffs kick off with the semifinals on March 26th and wrap up with the finals on March 31st. Here are the projected pots as they currently stand, with Scotland ending its 28-year hiatus from the tournament. Asterisk.
Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.